Class is now in session. I'm Professor Hockey, and today we're discussing some very exciting news coming out of the San Jose Sharks camp today, and that is that the Sharks have recalled goaltender Yaroslav Askarov from the San Jose Barracuda. Now, normally I wouldn't make a video about just a random call-up, but of course, Askarov isn't just any other player, but is instead one of the most important pieces of the San Jose Sharks rebuild moving forward. He was acquired from the Nashville Predators this past off-season after his name had been circling in trade rumors for many months, but it really came to a head in that off-season when the Predators decided to sign a massive contract extension for their current starting goaltender, Juuse Saros, which made it immediately clear to Askarov that he wasn't going to get a chance to become the starter in Nashville, at least for the next few years. So it didn't make a lot of career sense for him to stick around in the AHL when there wasn't that opportunity to move up. As such, he very publicly came out and requested a trade, going so far as to say that he would not report to the Milwaukee Admirals training camp, the Predators' AHL team, if he was still with the organization to start the year, which of course forced the Predators' hand, and the Sharks very opportunistically jumped at this chance to pick up one of, if not the, best goaltending prospect around the league by using the assets that they had acquired just a few months prior in the Tomas Hertl trade from the Vegas Golden Knights. This was a huge win for the organization, not just because he was such a highly touted prospect, but also because it was filling in an area that the Sharks were really struggling in. While they had drafted goaltenders in rounds 3 to 7 of many of the last few entry drafts, a lot of those, or all of them really, are Hail Mary selections with very low chances of success. Being able to pick up as reliable of a goaltending prospect as you're really likely to find in Askarov was a huge win, when it is much easier to draft the other two positions, defense and forward. However, it wasn't as straightforward as just picking up Askarov and then playing him in the NHL, because the Sharks did already have a goaltending tandem established for themselves going into next season with Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood, and so there was a slight worry that if he didn't want to play in the AHL with Nashville, that he wouldn't want to do it with San Jose either. However, it became quite clear that that major reason was mostly because there was that roadblock of Saros preventing him from being a starter, which is something that simply does not exist here in San Jose. While Blackwood and Vanacek might be with the Sharks right now, they are both on expiring contracts. And the likelihood of both of them being brought back for next season is essentially zero now that Askarov is hanging out. And so, while Blackwood and Vanacek might find themselves above Askarov in the depth charts currently, that the case will not be the same next season. Askarov will be with the Sharks next year. But there were also chances and opportunities that could pop up this season, whether one of them would get traded, or perhaps the likely scenario, and one that we are dealing with currently, that one of these two goaltenders who have proven themselves to be injury prone in the past would get injured. And that is exactly what has happened here with Vitek Vanacek. He started last game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but left with an undisclosed injury at the end of the first period. So, with him now being out day to day, Askarov has been called up to play. This game tonight against the Detroit Red Wings will likely be started by Mackenzie Blackwood, so he's not going to make his Sharks debut right away. However, the Sharks' next game is on Wednesday against the Dallas Stars, and the game after that is on Thursday against the St. Louis Blues, the dreaded back-to-back scenario, which in today's NHL is pretty much never played by the same goaltender. As such, if Blackwood, let's say, gets the most difficult start on Wednesday against Dallas, it is likely we see Askarov make his NHL, or his San Jose Shark debut, I should say, because he has played a couple games with the Predators. It is likely we see him make his Sharks debut on Thursday against St. Louis, as long as, of course, Vanacek does remain on the sidelines, because he has not been placed on injured reserve or anything. Instead, it has been Nico Sturm placed on IR to make the room for Askarov to actually be called up. It is very likely that Vanacek will then return soon after that, and Askarov will get sent back down, but it will be a nice taste to see what Askarov is capable of in the NHL, because, as I've said, he will be the starting goaltender for the future for this San Jose Sharks team. The question then becomes, when is it going to be the next time that we see Askarov? Will it be this season? Will it be at the deadline? Or will we have to wait to next year? Well, there was the option back at the beginning of the season to waive one of these two goaltenders. The likely candidate would have been Vitek Vanacek if they really wanted to give Askarov that chance immediately. But now, with how good Blackwood has been and how relatively solid Vanacek has been as well, the likelihood of that happening is essentially zero. We have already seen Mike Grier be quite hesitant to use the waiver wire, and for him to waive an actually solid goaltender is pretty much not going to happen. And so the more likely scenario to play this season would be if one of them gets traded. And I guess the good news in that sense is that Mackenzie Blackwood's name has been involved in trade rumors quite heavily over these last few weeks. And it is not surprising to see, because Blackwood has been not only the best goaltender on the Sharks, but he's actually been one of the better goaltenders around the league itself. One of the top 10, or maybe let's say top 15 goalies thus far this season. As such, the teams who are interested in adding in that area, like Colorado or Carolina, have likely been inquiring with Mike Grier what it would take to bring him over to that team. So whether this trade happens within the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, or if we do have to wait all the way to the trade deadline, it is very, very likely that Blackwood does end up getting moved as long as his performance does keep up. And as such, we should see Askarov again at some point this season. But right now, what we have to look forward to is at the very least that one game that he is likely to get over these next few days, and we shall see how he performs then. His numbers currently in the San Jose Barracuda are very, very impressive, and so if there are anything like that, the Sharks will have a real gem on their hands. Class dismissed.